Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is our 2 week wrap up show. So, what does that mean for you? It means, well, we're going to be going over a whole bunch of the topics that we've discussed over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, we had our news shows, but we've talked about a lot in the last weeks, as usual. We've talked about AI skills and what do you need to get your dream job, or if perhaps you're changing jobs and you're thinking about a career switch, what AI skills are going to be important. Then we talked about top AI voices and what it means for SEO search. Is it going to kill SEO? How does AI, of course, factor into that? We talked about SaaS and what the ultimate threat is to it. Then we did a whole show last Friday, the Be About It show, where we showed you use case after use case, and we can talk more about those and a lot of questions about N8N and also NCP or MCP, which we talked about yesterday. And then also we talked about just like business process and, sort of how to unlock success. So just as always, a lot of different topics over the last 2 weeks. And this is our opportunity to dive into some of those. Sometimes news also breaks and we can pick up some of those. We actually have one of those at the top of the show. And then get into any other things that kind of sound fun and interesting to us. So one of my favorite shows because it's just sort of a open conversation. There's no super agenda for how the show has to go or the topic we're trying to cover. It's kind of wherever we want to, sort of a very natural morning talk show type style to it. So welcome. This is the Daily AI Show. With me today is Beth, Junmi, Andy, and I'm Brian. This is March 21st, 2024. I think I already said it's the Daily AI Show. It's Friday, guys. I've had a rushed morning. Got a workout in. It's been running around a lot. Also, as I watched the show yesterday, because Carl, who's not here today or maybe here later, opened the show for us yesterday and did a wonderful job. And I had a laugh, guys, because he mispronounced my last name. My last name is Messeri. But immediately after that, he said his last name. And I said, oh, you know what? I've been saying his last name wrong. So I've always said Carl, yeah. And he said, and I'm Carl, yay. And I thought, yep, nope. We've been doing this show together almost 2 years now, and I did not know how to say one of my co-hosts' last names. So then I quickly looked at everybody else's last names. I'm like, I think I can nail the rest of them. But if anybody cares, mine's Messeri. It rhymes. It's
Well,
Sharad Street.
I just want to
So
say that you guys have been mispronouncing my name the whole time. It's
oh yeah,
it's
what's
not
that?
Andy, it's Andy.
Andy. I should have known. I should have known you had the French in you. I know there was a little accent there. Well, good to know. So we'll correct it going forward. But anyway, I had to laugh about it. Obviously, I don't care. Lots of people mispronounce my last name. It does not look like it. But it was just funny how very quickly that turned on me because then I realized I was mispronouncing Carl's last name. So there you go. Hey, if you get a chance, go follow us on LinkedIn. I don't say that all the time, but we're all active on LinkedIn to varying degrees. And so I have lots of people who connect with me, send me DMs. I chat back and forth with Gareth all the time. So if you're in the chat today and you want to, in some ways keep the conversation going, or if you have follow-up questions or whatever, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn or anybody else if you want to reach out, connect with me. And yeah, we can trade DMs or whatever you might want to talk about. So always feel like you can do that if you like. All right, guys, I thought I'd start really quick with just a quick one because we were just talking about it before the show went live. And that actually what a big news story was that came out, I don't know, less than 24 hours ago. I'm not really sure. Was that Claude from Anthropic now has the ability to search the web. And holy moly, have they waited to jump into this pool? Um, from what I could see, I haven't messed with a whole bunch other than you can see what I threw on the screen here. We'll talk about that in a second. Ethan Malik did put a post about it and said that, he thought it was okay. There were still some, sort of mess ups and over like, what would be the word? It was overconfident about the few tidbits it had pulled from the internet, but because it's not doing deep research, it isn't really pulling in the depth that you might want for certain research. But it was okay for picking up, certain things on the web. So I threw in here, tell me about the last few episodes of the Daily AI Show on YouTube. And I literally have not had a chance to read this. So let's just see, did it get it right? I'd be happy to look up information. It looks like, let's see, what are our sources here? It says the Daily AI Show. It pulled up some stuff from Apple Podcasts. It looks like that's Apple, some LinkedIn, something called Your Everyday AI, which is not us. Looks like they pulled in Spotify, a Comedy Central called The Daily Show, which we get confused with sometimes. That's on us. And then it looks like some other things. So let's see. Based on my search, I found the information about this show, which appears to be a panel discussion podcast that streams live every weekday at 10 a.m. Okay, check there. It hosts Brian, Beth, Jimmy, Andy, Carl, and Aaron. Awesome. Focuses on AI making impact on business with the goal of helping viewers spend less time figure out AI and more time deploying the latest AI technologies. Bingo. I could see the discuss very topics, though I don't have specific details about their latest episodes. One recent episode appears to be covering the release of O3 Mini and O3 High. That is not that recent, right, guys? Let's see what it pulled up here. This is the link that it gave me. If it'll load. Um, do we have any dates on here? You guys remember this show, the O3 Mini? It didn't even pull up the O3 Mini one. Not sure. Any
No,
anybody remember?
good, I thought. I think that's pretty good web search. It certainly would get you, uh,
Up to there.
the ability to, click into some of these things and learn more about that with relatively recent information being, highlighted there.
And truthfully, if we were doing a better job with our website, which we have been saying forever, we're going to update because it's just not up to par, but we know that. And also, by the way, that's where you can join and get the newsletter that's coming out this Sunday. If you want to do that, you can go to thedailyishow.com. It's super easy to sign up, as you can see right here. But probably if we had better metadata and better show by show topics, which is something we want to accomplish, I would imagine that Claude here might be able to do a better job. So I don't know. Just wanted to bring that up as the top of the show because that's something that literally has come out since our new show and something I don't know I've been waiting for. But my question to you guys is, okay, Anthropic knew they were going to do this. Anthropic has seen everybody else get web search before them. So I'm curious, do you think they should have come out with the best version of web search right out of the gate? Or is it okay to come out with what appears to be kind of like what you just said, Andy? It's okay. It's okay, web search. It's what I expect. But I kind of feel like if you're the last one in, do the best. Like blow people away with your web search when it arrives. And I feel like maybe this is going to be perceived as a miss.
No, I don't think so. Here's why. I
Okay.
don't think, I don't think Anthropic or any one of the v litany of models that are out there can match Perplexity and Google when it comes to search. Those 2 companies have either a long, long history and, deep expertise in the case of Google, or Perplexity started out with search at its foundation. So to become the best, within Anthropic, I don't think is like even reasonable expectation. So they're bringing out something that allows for people who are using the chat interface to include recent and, relevant documents from the web that they'll bring the context forward from the October 2024 end of pre-training information that we all ran into this morning before we learned, oh yeah, we've got to enable web search in the either on the desktop version of Claude or on the mobile device. So I don't have a high standard of expectation, when it comes to Anthropic doing that. Even just as recently as yesterday, we said, "Look, with MCP, you can connect to Brave Search. There's a specialist out there, and you can enable Claude to have, access to search." And then the next day, they come out and say, "Okay, we're launching web search." So you don't even have to go through the trouble of creating an MCP server to connect to that external tool. But again, you know, all of the models need to have, eh, you know, temporal context. They have to understand something beyond their pre-training. It's table stakes in the game. And so they've done, I'm sure, a very competent job of delivering that. And that's enough for the chat interface. Um, let's remember that Google, despite the emergence of all of these LLM-based web search capable options to doing search, like Perplexity is challenging Google directly. They make no bones about it. They tried to, diss Google effectively at the outset by saying their model is superior to what is enslaving Google to its business model, which is selling ads. Um, and then all the others on it. I think Chat GPT's web search is very good. But Google, despite all of these entrees in the search area, they are still running 90% of global search volume. So nobody's put a dent in Google's dominance in search. and they have way more tools than any one of these LLM companies can that have to do with the search component. So, with the possible exception of Perplexity, which is focused on search, I don't see anybody challenging to become the best at web-enabled search inside an LLM.
I think you're right,
So this
Andy.
is an example of oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt. Alright, so I think this is just an example of standard tech practices. This is an MVP, minimal, viable product. They needed to add it because that's what the demand was for everything, just like Andy said, everyone needs that, every foundational model needs the temporal, context. Um I'm sure through everybody starting to use it because a bunch of people wanted this feature for so long with Claude that they will have more than enough training data to improve on the next iteration. So yeah, I think this is just their MVP. Yeah, like you said, Brian,
But
it's okay.
but
We'll,
why do they have
we'll
to put out an
see better.
MVP? Why? And my follow up: why would they? Number one, why would they have to put out an MVP? Why? They're Anthropic. They have a lot of good stuff going towards them. Like a lot of people love Anthropic. And two, Jimmy,
Because it doesn't matter to their strategy. It doesn't matter to their strategy.
why do it? What pressure did they have then?
Because because everyone else did. That's
You're
why.
saying Anthropic bowed to the pressure of Google search for
It's
what?
answer to it's answer to very loud minority of users that say, "Hey, you should have this. Everybody has this." So they're just, they're just rising with the tide there. It's like, "Oh, here's the MVP. The next generation will be better." Anthropic and these other tech companies have taken a very tech approach to these features. It's like, here's the feature. When Sora came out, we had complaints about that. There's limitations to that. When they came out with a new model, oh, you can only use it 10 times a week? Are you kidding me? The There's all of these drawbacks to these features. These are the MVP of these features so that they goes out into the wild, then and this is the standard tech model. They put out the feature, it functions, goes into the wild. The users are the beta testers. Through their use, they get the data back and make improvements. It's all about iterations. It's just like how there's a Windows update to your computer every other month, right? Oh, it's a security update. Oh, we're updating this. Oh, and they're just pushing updates. If they just waited for the perfect product, it would never come out. So that's just the standard way that software deployment happens. It's like, oh, here we think this is enough for you. Oh, it's not enough. Okay, now we'll add this. Oh, did you test it and broke it? Okay, we'll fix the thing that you found that was broken. It's not on them to it the approach they think it's not on them to find all the possible problems first and make it the perfect version of it. It's sent out in the wild so when it comes back, it evolves over time, fixing the bugs, adding more features, and the 100th iteration of that is when we had the product that we really want. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I'm not gonna argue that. That's just the way that it happens.
So I think that I think part of this is because it no longer matters at all, right? We're very much in the place where you can choose your own search, you can choose your own model, you can do all that kind of stuff. And what the story has been or what the comment has been all the way along is everybody has search except Anthropic. I think it's entirely possible that they just found that that message was getting in the way of, like, the other amazing things that they do. So I think that there is a reason to release it because it actually no longer really matters. But, the I think Gwen in the chat said, it's possible that really good right now doesn't align with safe in the Anthropics thing, so that's another possibility.
We could certainly go to other topics. I don't know. I guess I'm in the minority here. I disagree wholly with what you said, Jumi, and I disagree with you, Beth. But that's okay. That's what makes the show fun. I don't. I look. I realize people in the comments right now are talking about Apple and Siri, and so I'm gonna get my head handed to me here in about a half a second when I say this. But here's the thing. For me, this is for me, I put Anthropic on a higher pedestal. Maybe that's fair, maybe that's not. But I put Anthropic on a higher pedestal than the other models, the other companies, because I think they've earned it. I see them as we don't need to be fast. We're not in the first to the whatever game, although they have been. Don't forget their preview window predated Canvas. That's now in Gemini and OpenAI, and they were the first ones I saw to do that. They're leading the charge when it comes to probably some of the best coding help out there. However, they don't seem to be playing the game of we need to have the best whiz bang thing or whatever, which is sort of like the Apple model of the past. Now, again, like I said, people are going to tell me because of Siri and what they did with Apple Intelligence kind of broke the rule there because Apple Intelligence absolutely has not crushed when they announced it. But Apple is kind of always we don't need to be first. We'll sit back, watch what everybody's doing. And when we arrive, we're usually one of the best. And that's okay if you're an Android fan or Apple. It's just sort of been the way that Apple has gone about their business model, whatever. And it's okay if we agree or disagree on whether we believe that or not. But they've never really been like, we need to be first on a particular update. Typically, the Android phones will get it first. So when I see this, and I have not played with it enough, but if it's just okay, if that's after I use it a whole bunch, if I feel like their web search is just okay, if it's on par with basic search that I can now get with the other ones, that to me is a letdown. To me, it's because they're on a higher pedestal for me. And I expect
Well,
out of the gate.
I get your point, but what would you be missing? What test can you apply to Anthropic that would make you satisfied that they've done a really bang up job on search? Like, what have you seen in ChatGPT or in Google that in your one query to
Sure.
Anthropic make you feel like Anthropic's not there?
I would
Know
love
what
to
I
see.
want before I get it, before I ask, right? Like, "Ooh, you've intuited me so much, I'm gonna go out and get the info."
Well, they do say it's supposed to like you don't really have at least I don't see it here. True style. No, I did read about this and said that like you could sort of force web search. Obviously, with the way Claude has set it up, which others have too, Google search or OpenAI as well. You can pick web search and make it focus, but also it should just go do web search whenever it thinks your query or your prompt necessitate.
Yeah, Anthropic's messaging about their web search says that Claude will use web search when it thinks it's
Right.
needed.
Which makes sense. If you're asking about timely information, that is somewhat complicated though, and I'll tell you where that is. Just what I do when I teach with sales, because Claude is not necessarily going to know for research on a company that it's important to me that I don't just get what's in their October 2024 or past, because lots of companies fully exist prior to that date. I actually need updated information. I might be looking for stuff. And so it might be in the prompting or whatever. But to answer your question, Andy, just so if you guys want to move on, I get it, because this was just something that came out in the news. I would have liked to seen more thorough research. I would have liked to seen better search. And I think it would not have been a huge lift for them to be able to answer the question, what were the latest episodes of Daily AI Show? That is readily available on the internet. And not one of their sources is YouTube. Not one of them. Despite in my prompt, I said on YouTube. How that's a miss for me. Like, and I'm not saying OpenAI or Gemini nails it, but I expect Anthropic. And again, that's probably because I expect more from Anthropic, and that I might be in the super minority on that. But I respect their company a lot. I really do. They're my favorite one. And yeah, so if you're gonna come out with this and it's gonna be way after everybody else, knock it out of the park.
We'd all like that. That's true. I think all of us are fans of Anthropic, and we think that they've done a great job, and they're at the head of the class when it comes to coding. They're at the head of the class when it comes to a number of other things, including establishing a standard for agentic interaction with the tools. No other companies out there have made those initiatives happen. But search is a tough one. At the same time, it's very easy. Like, it's very simple to add search to one of these models. I wanted to just weave over a little bit. Go ahead if you're showing something from the chat.
Just wanted to throw it on the screen because Justin had responded about Claude. That was all. It was on with what you were talking about, but we can move on. He was just saying, I expect more from Anthropic too. Their focus on safety holds them back. I agree with that probably. Even if it's for good reasons, it's tough to be stuck in the middle. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you.
so I wanted to just jump over when we're talking about search. Perplexity, I mentioned earlier, is a leader in search-based LLM supported interaction with its intelligence on the web. And just 3 months ago, they raised $500 million at a $9 billion valuation. And now the news is that they're working on a new funding round of as much as $1 billion at double the valuation. So lots of momentum and trajectory for the search-oriented ones. So that all of their money is going into this particular facet. Like Perplexity is not a coding agent. They choose you can use Claude 3.7 as a coding agent within Perplexity, right? But they don't have all the tooling that you would use to do the things that most of the other models are trying to do, whether it's Claude artifacts or computer use or operator or so on, creating those agentic things. Perplexity doesn't do those things yet. So anyway, they're apparently succeeding very well in the eyes of investors when it comes to search.
Well, didn't Jensen Huang announce? Didn't Jensen Huang talk about Perplexity at their keynote event at the Nvidia event? They announced a little bit more of a partnership. Like I feel like Perplexity is in the room or mentioned in some really great ways. And I also feel like I don't know, every couple months somebody goes, well, I don't know, everybody's going to do it really well again. Perplexity doesn't have a moat, except that Perplexity's moat is it does the thing that we want it to do and the others don't. Right? Like, I'm feeling like that's a decent moat. If you're just, like, functional in what you say that you're gonna be functional in, that is a value proposition differentiator, sadly, in tech and definitely in AI tech right now.
Yeah, they consistently perform, right? And they also, I think they're doing a good job of making sure that not the only thing that they're competing on is search. Like, yes, that's a big part of it, but we're watching this, right? They're coming out with Cosmos. We don't really know what that's gonna be yet with their browser. So taking maybe shots at Chrome or Edge on that one. And they have other things as far as their projects and the way they do their pages. And I kind of feel in a lot of ways Perplexity is sort of redefining what it is to search and get information on the internet, but they're doing it in new novel ways. I don't know if they can I don't know if their play maybe is to get bought out. Maybe they have an exit strategy. That's possible. It wouldn't be unheard of for them to raise all this money, do phenomenal things, and Microsoft to buy them for 20 billion or 100 billion or whatever. I don't know. Could be. But I really like what they're doing.
Being Perplexity.
No,
What's that?
no, no, please. I mean, if you have to be
Yeah, don't get bought by Microsoft.
if you have to be eaten by somebody, please be eaten by Google, and Google, please just, like, give them the wing that Notebook LM has, right? Like, just don't touch them. Let them do the thing that makes them really good.
I've
Um,
heard DuckDuckGo is going to make a run for them. So them and Apps are hitting war for Perplexity, which would be interesting.
One of the things that Perplexity did, and does is it added a feature within X that lets you ask Perplexity. Like, you ask Perplexity with your question as a comment on one of the tweets, and it answers. And that's been really interesting to watch. Like, I feel like those kinds of really tweaked, value add, like, it seems like a small thing, but it makes it easier. It's just in time value for the people who are using it. And Grok kind of does that, and there may be another, like Ask Grok may be a thing. For Grok, when you want to understand the tweet, you click on the grok icon, takes you out of that thread so that you're seeing it. I guess actually it loads it on the side. But I feel like Perplexity really does still have a real handle on that kind of thing. And he's infamous for saying, "Hey, we've got this. What do you want to see?" Right? So he's very out front and engages with their customers on X. I don't see him doing it in other places, but
Hmm.
on X he's very forthcoming.
Hey, on one of our shows, we talked a lot. By the way, people asked if I was freezing. Yeah, my internet is not great, so I apologize if I'm clipping or I'm freezing a little bit. I've closed down all other browser tabs, so that could be helpful as well. Jimmy always tells me I'm supposed to do that before I start the show anyway, so that's on me. But hopefully, we're not too buggy today on a Friday. But I wanted to bring up voice because we did talk about that in the last 2 weeks. And although I just shut down the tab where I wanted to get the thing, I'll try to go pull it up in my internet or my emails. It was one of the newsletters that I follow.
It's a rundown.
What is it?
The
The Rundown?
rundown.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, is it that one? Is it the Neuron? Is it the I read too many of them and I don't pay attention to what the titles are. I kind of read them as one book, one long newsletter because I just click through them and then I often go, geez, I really probably should have looked if I saw that really cool thing in the Neuron or the Rundown because then I have to go find it again. But anyway, just I don't know, an open conversation here about voice. Man, do I feel like voice is having its moment in March, and probably a little bit of February too. Obviously, we saw Sesame, Hume, right, which we were talking about. But then there was this other company, and when I stop talking here, and I'll go try to find it real quick in the newsletters. But there was yet another company who had done crazy low latency and was really bridging that gap on it wasn't Sesame though, it was another company. It was bridging that gap of things feeling really, really human. Then I just saw that app, I guess with the next iOS update, speaking of Apple, iOS 19 maybe, that Apple EarPods without any new tech or downloads was going to be able to do live, I think is what they called it. Um,
Translation.
translating, which is again, we're getting to that latency where the latency is becoming human level, meaning that the world opens up at that point. So I'm gonna go find that company, but I was just curious if you guys have seen anything else about voice and stuff because it's like I feel like it's having its moment.
So in addition to that, and it's kind of funny, um, OpenAI released 2 new speech to text model. Think it's funny because generally when OpenAI does something in an arena, that is the top of the story. But it's so far down in this story that we didn't it didn't make the list. Like these are the other companies that have released. But also, um, Sesame released just as an update to our Sesame show and our Voices show, Sesame released, like, the next day or a couple days later, they released, uh, it's an Apache licensed version of the Voices, and it's designed to,
version.
yeah, say it, Jimmy, sorry.
It's a 1 billion parameter version of their normal 8B. But from what people have been saying in their testing, it's pretty close. It's not quite as good as the 8B, but it's open source and you can you
Yeah.
can run with it. So
And there are 2, kind of embedded functions in it. One is the reading function, right? The read out loud function. Um, and that had maybe 3 voices, and the other is the conversational function. So if you were gonna go in and test it, what you want the first voice to say would be 1 line. You want the second line is gonna be said in the second voice. And we've seen that before, with, I think Play HT. Carl did a demo a year and a half ago, which was probably January. Um,
Yeah,
I
it was yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, yeah, probably January. You're right.
I don't
She was best talking in AI years, though.
Yeah, what is time in AI? For sure.
yeah. So
By the way, the name of that company is Canopy Labs. You guys want me to pull it? I can try. You want me to pull it up on the screen real quick? We'll see if it's
Yeah.
buggy. I'll turn it down
Start
off.
for it.
Okay.
While you're pulling that up, I just want to ask a question, which I haven't tried any of the interactive conversational voice APIs in an application using the APIs. OpenAI's announcement about their models is about the API. These are models that are behind the API. They're not the models that are used by ChatGPT, application on the phone where you're talking to it. So is it just like, how can you interact like the real-time API? Because they launched that a long time ago. The real-time API is the one where you can actually have an open socket connection with the OpenAI servers, and you can have a real-time conversation with the assistant. These seem to me to be, read this text, right? Or transcribe my voice, and then those go as inputs. And so there's going to be some latency that's not real time. This is not a real time implementation. There's going to be some latency in these APIs, but there are lots of specific uses for that particular kind of API. So I hope though that we'll find out that this new GPT-4o Mini TTS, text to speech model, is capable of speaking the response as the response is being generated in a streaming fashion, so that you could have an application on your desktop answer back with live readout using that API. Because I'd like to incorporate that into some of the things that we're building.
Well, it in their announcement and documentation, that is their intent. They do identify that it's not there yet, but their intent was to release this is the newer version. This is the better version of TTS and STS. Yeah. And of those two types of models. And so this is just the next version. They are planning to move in that direction. I think this was essentially their going to what they had Sam had talked about a few months ago. This is our iterative quick update. Because it was just one of those, here, hey, we're announcing something on Twitter, and this is the audio. Here's a whole bunch of new voices that you can use. Here's X, Y, and Z, and then they just left it there, and now they're moving on. So we'll see. I do appreciate that there is these API model release movement direction there, so that it still encourages development outside of the ChatGPT ecovert.
Yeah, and I feel like what the speech to text models uh, are moving towards, and everybody's sort of referencing it, even though it's not quite there, is the live captioned, right? Is the ability to have what we're saying captioned on our screen at the same time that we're saying it. And like, I don't think that any of them are functional in that way right now. Um, I mean, Zoom does it, but it's also it doesn't. I mean, it does something while you're talking. It's not always the words that you just said, but sure. But yeah, I feel like those are the directions that the developers who are putting together the speech to text kinds of things, that's where they're moving towards.
Yeah, do you want me to pull this up on the screen real quick?
Yeah.
This is from Canopy Labs. I've never heard of them before. Just happened to see them in the email, and I guess I should give credit where credit's due. This came from Daily Zaps, as a matter of fact, which is not one I always read, but Daily Zaps is where I saw this. And we can play. You guys can let me know if this comes across non-chunky or not. Let's see.
Hey there, guys. It's Sarah here, and let me introduce you to Zach, who seems to be asleep. Zach, it's time to wakey wakey.
Ugh, I was having such a great dream. Why are you bothering me? What time is it anyway?
Classic Zach, always. So, groggy.
Okay, so they have that sort of like, that's their intro. And I didn't listen to the whole thing. You could see some pauses and laughs and stuff like that we were kind of hearing. Maybe with Sesame had that too. But what's interesting here is you can actually go to GitHub or Hugging Face or Google Colab and try these models. What I find interesting is how small they have. Like they have a nano model that's only 100 into our screen here. What happened?
That was
It dropped you out, Beth. Is that
So
what
it drops me out, and then everything else drops
Okay.
because of it.
Well, we're
So
still live,
on.
so-
We're still live because it stays for a couple seconds.
Beth is like our host. She comes in under the host account just for anybody just watch it was like what just happened to the screen. And so if Beth's internet drops out or whatever, it kicks us all out on the side and we have to come back in. So apologize for that.
I am
don't know
more
if-
powerful.
You are all powerful. That is a true statement. And I'll just put these real quick. Number one, what I was saying is I thought this is interesting, and Andy, I thought you would think this is interesting. That the size of their models, that the median that's here, I'll just pull it up again. 3 billion, then 1 billion is their small, their tiny is 400 million, and their nano is 150 million parameters, which are that's a tiny model. And so this gives you the opportunity perhaps that you can run this, I would imagine at that level, maybe even on mobile, but certainly on, downloadable and on a desktop and stuff. So they tell you where you can get more information about it. They give you a little bit of a technical overview. And then handling disfluencies. Andy, I feel like not to put you on the spot, but do you want to define that disfluencies? I feel like I
a person speaking naturally and without any interjected, you know, like what I just said, like
pause it there.
those are fluencies, right? A fluent speaker is going to have no interruptions to the smooth flow of articulate, grammatically correct expression. And the disfluency is all those things that they're throwing in there, the little side comments and the breathing and all those things. Those are the additions of
To make it
disfluencies.
sound more human. I knew you would say I knew to go with you on that. With handling disfluencies. So we'll just listen to one or two here because they're comparing themselves, which is Orpheus. That's the name of their nice name for a model, Orpheus. I like it. Comparing themselves to 11 Labs as well as Play, which we just mentioned that Beth was talking about how Carl did a show on that about 4 years
Now,
ago.
is this demo going to be text to speech or speech to text? Is this showing they're handling disfluencies in speech to text or?
Good question. On text tokens, boost architecture. That's the architecture still, though. It doesn't actually say right here, honestly.
Okay, well, let's see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, okay.
Get the correct way to intone, like actual disfluencies when people are kind of like talking.
Okay. So
Really get the correct way to intone, like actual disfluencies when people are kind of like talking.
that was 11 Labs.
Or TTS systems don't really, really get the correct way to intone like actual disfluencies when people are kind of like talking.
Okay, I can hear that. Let's do one more.
You're
These
so
are-
bloody rude all the time. Like, don't you ever just take a break?
You're so bloody rude all the time. Like, don't you ever just take a break?
Or you're so bloody rude all the time. Like, don't you ever just take a break?
Okay. I mean, these are selected by them, but I would agree that Orpheus is the best of those three but they're like, these could be cherry picked. And then this is interesting. And I thought you would find this interesting as well, not just to say Andy, but when I saw this, I was like, I bet Andy's going to think this is interesting. They're doing like near zero shot prompting. And so what they're saying here is our model has not seen this voice during training. The voice is passed to the prompt, which is the first time the model is exposed to it. So we can listen to a little bit of what it was.
I just finished my first 5K run. I never thought I'd be able to do it, but I pushed through and made it.
Okay, so that I think is what was passed through, they're saying.
Why is your frickin' Waymo blocking the frickin' road? Get out of the way.
All right, that was Orpheus.
Why is your frickin' Waymo blocking the frickin' road? Get out of the way. Why is your frickin' Waymo blocking the frickin' road? Get out of the way.
I mean, I don't know that I hear a lot of it, but
Play HT was best on replicating the model there.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that is zero shot. It is for sure zero shot. I mean, they're passing this into the prompting, like they said, and that's immediately what you're getting out of it. I don't know how long that takes to get that sample. But it does say Orpheus sample was passed in prompt along with the text to generate. For 11 Labs and Play HT, sample was given to an instant voice cloning. Now that's a difference. If one of them is clearly a training on the voice and the other one is here's the prompt and the voice in the 8-second demo of me, now go do more stuff like me. That's pretty instant cloning. That's pretty impressive. We'd have to dig in more, use the model. These might be cherry picked results, as we know sometimes. But anyway, go check them out. Canopy Labs .ai. That's where I'm getting all this from. If you want to go play and listen to all the different samples, and there's a lot of them. We touched just a few. But yeah, just another company here.
Right. And this also is one of the signs of the story sort of morphing over the time period that we've been having the conversation, because the reason that advanced voice was delayed is because it was so good at cloning, right? And now we've moved to beyond that place where cloning is not a bad thing. I mean, it's always been a thing, right? Like how little information do you need? What small sample size do you need to be able to create mimicry that would sound authentic? And I feel like we've been having this conversation long enough that it was like, "Oh, no, it clones really quickly. Oh, excellent. Do this because it clones really quickly."
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um,
And I think you're right, Brian. I think the smaller and more compressed models is a direct movement to lighter and lighter hardware like mobile. Because a few weeks ago, we were talking about news how Stability was making a specific partnership with like ARM processor manufacturers to create a model for audio processing on chip. So yeah, we're going to see way more implementations, probably running natively on mobile.
yeah, I mean, just take Apple's announcement about their AirPods, right? And take something like this, assume that this works. Now put that in either heads up displays or in ears. So now, if I'm talking to what was it, Andy? What was it, Andy? The French version of you, Andy? Andy, he says.
That's Andy. That's correct. You're getting it.
Andy. If I was meeting Andy for the first time in his little local boulangerie in Paris, which would be his bakery, as I learned when I was over there. And he was doing everything, and I wanted to talk to Andy. Well, a translator, number one, is going to be great if it's in my ear. And Andy says whatever he says I'm sorry, Andy says whatever he says in French to me, and I go, he's pointing, and I kind of think, and I get to translate, even a couple seconds later, I could be, oh, which one do I want? Do I want it heated up? Something like that, right? Is this to go? Whatever the question was. And I can say yes, no, and try my best. But with a technology like this, to your point, Jimmy, as these are getting on smaller and smaller devices and getting to these zero shot, what we're really going towards is not that I get the translation, that I get on D's total inflections and tones back to me in English. And if you had an open device
And
with a
then
speaker.
yours to him.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm getting Andy speaking as if he knew English back to me. And let's be honest, in French, they probably do know English. So this is a dumb example, because most of the people I talked to could switch over to English and speak to me. It was only wrong the other way around. But I think that's what we're talking about here, right? We're watching these almost getting to almost indistinguishable latency on smaller and smaller models with zero shot, which means whether the model has ever been trained on it or not, as soon as it hears enough of what Andy was saying to me in a different language, it's instantly able to, or near instantly able to, spit it back out of my ear as if he was saying it to me in my language. That's pretty amazing. And that is going to open up the world even more than we are today. And that gets me very, very excited because I do love traveling. And although you can work around language barriers as we have for decades and decades and decades, this is really going to open it up to a lot of people, I think, to feel more comfortable to go travel to places that maybe they were hesitant about, because now they're like, well, wherever I go, I'm going to be able to converse and understand and comprehend. And that's a big hurdle for a lot of people to go put themselves in an otherwise uncomfortable situation where they feel like I might get stuck or I might get lost or I might need help and I don't know how to ask for it, you know?
That was actually the first sci-fi AI show that we did. This is not all a promo of the sci-fi AI show, but I'm curious about what Apple's process is with the AirPods because that's only half the conversation, right? The the reason that you do it with ChatGPT or some app is because you can speak in it and then say translate so the other person can hear. And one of the things, it was literally 10 years ago, in AI, one of the tools that we found was like you'd have one AirPod, you'd have one ear, whatever, and you'd be able to give it to the other person because they're paired. Now you could speak different languages and it would translate in that context.
I think it should just be it should be reversed on the front of the glasses so they can read it back.
Yes.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's just a very small jump, technically, to make sure that you're going to have your phone, right? Basically, have directional speaker on your phone, and so whenever you say something with those isolating earbuds, you could just speak at a normal volume or sub vocalize a little bit, and then the directional speaker from the phone would project to whoever you're speaking to. So, I mean, there's a few things that need to be worked out, but it's almost there already. All the components all exist now. So,
Yeah. And that becomes an accommodation for an experience that people have as they age, right? Like, that has a ton of use cases, and, like,
I
as an
mean, their
aging population.
AirPods are certified hearing aids now. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, you're growing, your audience is growing into your, whatever. Your audience is evolving into being your audience.
I wanted to
It
pull this
makes
up for you.
sense in my head.
Cisco said, I wonder if we can, this is just a total behind the scenes thing, but I wonder, Beth or Jimmy or anybody, if we can change the background to not be clear because it is always hard to read the white on almost on white. But anyway, Cisco said,
Yeah.
yeah.
yes, that would be great. If there could be a little more shadow there. But anyway, Cisco says, OMG, wouldn't a travel company or AI provider then be able to monetize your vacation? Because of the data processing and algos. Wow. I think that's kind of a cool idea for honestly. And you could see how a travel company, and by the way, that is, I put this in our show idea channel. So it's not a show yet. It hasn't made it to that phase and Beth hasn't put it in the calendar, but I did read some really cool articles about Jensen Huang with all the stuff he said about Nvidia. He's talked about this idea of token factories. We 100% have to do a show on that because that's actually tied to what Cisco just said. This idea of a smart, forward-thinking travel company also on the side having a token factory, which essentially, the quick example of that, I put it in the newsletter that's coming out on Sunday. It's a little bit of a preview, but the quick example of like Tesla takes information and turns that into tokens that turn around and then make the drives closer and closer to autonomous driving, right? So they are in effect only a car company. They process data, right?
Mm.
And so this idea that, okay, that's Tesla, but maybe some small travel company gets this idea and they're like, oh, just what Cisco said, like we're actually a travel company, but we're actually in the data business. And if we're able to take and translate these tokens back into better experiences, better places to go, a full itinerary. Andy, you were talking about that either today or on a recent show. We were talking about like a travel itinerary through, I think through MCP, we were talking about that. That's a really cool idea. So I think that's coming because we're going to talk about this token factory idea. It's a cool idea though.
So that
Like
relates.
as soon as I heard about that announcement in my brain, and all of our sci-fi AI fans will enjoy this. It's that concept that he's talking about is the first step to replicators. Okay, I'll leave that there, and we'll talk about more of that.
I'll have to watch the sci-fi AI show because I don't know what a replicator is, but that's good to know.
So The monetization of your data that you are experiencing just in your regular life is also coming to your living room as part of the upgrade for the Dot and Echo and part of Amazon's A Lady series on March 28th. You will no longer be able to prevent or opt out of the information being sent to the cloud.
Is that right?
Amazon's cloud. Yes, I am
And this
I
begs a
am not
larger
the
question
yes, it's very right.
of data rights. Like, if data is going to be part of this larger token factory thing and part of the larger ecosystem of how things are even created or done, then shouldn't we own the data that we create as an inherent right? But we do not have enough time in this episode to dive deep into.
Well, I do want to bring up these comments really quick. Greg said, back on the Nvidia thing, yes, Nvidia really hammered the token thing. And as though you know, the lion sleeps tonight. Then Greg's like, I just made me laugh. And then he's like, "You liked your idea of replicators?" And then this one I like too from Justin. He said, "Honestly, if Justin Huang ever decided to invest in the leather jacket industry, I wouldn't even be mad. Feels like a natural move at this point." Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys remember how recent ago in AI years, but how recent ago Jensen Huang was like on an interview and he's like, "Yeah, nobody really follows me on TikTok." And he's like, I would like people to. I guess that would be cool. Wasn't wearing the leather jacket or whatever, and then Nvidia, and he blew up, and then it seemed like everybody knew who he was, and now he's got a stylist, and he's known for his leather jacket. Like, look at that arc. Look how quickly he moved from obscurity, and he had been in that position. He's been like you told us that, Andy. He's been in that position in Nvidia like 30 years. So it's not like he came out of he came out of nowhere. He's been at Nvidia. He's been the CEO, but like it was not that long ago where he was like really sheepishly saying on this interview, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm on TikTok, but like nobody follows me." Like nobody knows. And then he's since then done like 19 keynote speeches, blown the world away. Everything that's happened in Nvidia. It's been a really, really fun thing to do. But I'm with you, Justin. Like, yeah, ride it, man. Wear the leather jacket. I love it.
I want to add a little sidebar here on tokenization. This comes from a great article that Nate Jones put out on the universality of transformers and tokenization as the inputs to transformer models. So basically, it's a universal computational thing emerging, which is anything that you can create, anything that you can feed into a tokenizer and can be broken down into tokens can be fed into a transformer, and then that deep neural network with the transformer attention mechanisms can figure out whether it's video, audio, uh, text. It started out as text tokenization, but anyway, multimodal capabilities in LLMs is a function of the same transformer being fed just token streams and being able to differentiate them through unsupervised learning so that it has a native understanding of not only text and multiple languages, because it's been fed all those languages, but also images and video and audio. So tokens are really important in the understanding of AI, given the architectures that we're using, and they are primarily transformers.
Yes, and the where we're going with AGI, and just coincidentally, that's what we're talking about on the Sci-Fi AI show this afternoon. But where we're going with AGI is AGI's ability to tokenize things that we do not perceive as distinct or discrete, right? So what the tokenization is identifying the patterns in things. We're saying patterns in speech, in text, in video, in image. In biology, they're saying patterns in chemicals, in proteins, right? In structures. Those are only universes that we have recognized as humans we can see those discrete whatever, those discrete, I mean, it's almost like they're individual syllables or individual words. But there are potentially a ton of things that we do not have the senses to perceive. We don't have the language to be able to discuss it. That when AGI is able to just like collect the information in its environment, tokenize it, make patterns out of it, infer things. That I think is where we're getting to. It's not AGI. It's whatever is next after AGI, right? Because now it's I don't know. Maybe it still is AGI, but it's AGI like squared or to the 10th power.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the AGI squared. We should market that for sure. Um, All right. So we probably should wrap this up for today. I got to jump anyway. So as everybody's commenting in the comments about my backwards hat, yeah, man, I live in Florida. Come on, I live in Florida. I got to get outside. I had the day off today. So backwards cap, throw the hoodie on. Let's go. I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. A couple things to keep in mind. Number one, newsletter coming out on Sunday. So if you want to get in on that action and join the fun, it's free. You can go to thedailyishow.com and sign up for it. It's a good episode this week. Really, really like the conundrum this week. So hopefully you'll get a chance to check that out. The Sci-Fi AI show will be today, yes, at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. That is a different YouTube channel. So go check out the Sci-Fi AI show. Give it a like and subscribe, as well as for the show if you like what we're doing. And then tomorrow there'll be sort of the bonus episodes that I've been putting out. In fact, this is our 5th one, I was just saying, on conundrums as well. They're a little short, 15-minute AI generated conversation that I just have a ton of fun putting together. It's honestly just a little passion project. But they're kind of growing and people are liking them on some of our podcast platforms and stuff like that. So go check that out if you like as well. It's all about AI and authenticity. So that's what the show will be coming out. And I set that to go live at 10 a.m. Same time we do the show. It'll go out at 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. So if you like, go check that out as well. Lots going on. And of course, we'll be back next week. Probably be talking about tokens. We're definitely going to be talking about Gemini and a whole lot of other stuff. So thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, I'm going to go enjoy the sunshine. Bye, everybody.
Aloha.